Hey, what's up, everybody? It is I, of course, your girl, Ms. Crystal Marie from Barrio Love Oldies, and you're tuning in to the Barrio Love Oldie podcast, episode number 20, with none other than Mr. B-Flat, right? Adrian Weatherspoon, thank you so much for being here with me today. I truly appreciate it, and I'm super excited to hear all about you, who you are, where you're from, and all that good stuff. So thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you very much for the invite. I appreciate you guys and your podcast and what you're doing. I very much have a shared kinship with the music that you guys play, so this is something that I very much appreciate and support. So thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. Our first question is, where are you from, born and raised?
Well, me, born and raised, I'm from Sacramento, California, primarily on the south side. But I have family all over, and so Sacramento is home, north, south, east, mid, Elk Grove, Citrus Heights, everybody, Folsom. So, and the environment I'm actually from is from like Florin and 24th, so like Airport, Little League, Woodbine, Hogan, that area.
Nice.
Very nice area when I was growing up. I did go to elementary in Rancho. I was one of those fortunate kids that was a part of a busing program from the lower income areas to a higher income area elementary. So a few of my friends in the neighborhood, we ended up going to elementary in East Sacramento. But middle school, I ended up going to like Kit Carson, which is mid Sacramento, where I got to meet a plethora of of different cultural and ethnicities, from Jamaican to Colombian to Hmong and Mian and Italian, like Tonian, Samoan, everybody. So it was a melting pot. And after that, I went to Burbank High School, class of like 2004. I'm an old dude, and 3 years out the game now. But that is my South Sac feel. Nice. Burbank was the last place that I had, so Florin Road is basically where my stomping ground is.
Nice. That's cool. And what was your environment like where you grew up?
Funny enough, so the environment around where my house is a little bit different. It's very middle class, but if you turn the corner, it changes to where it's not as friendly in some areas. But my environment, my home environment, I'm a church kid. My dad's a preacher. My mom, she played music for the church forever. And that's the environment that I grew up in. Very religious background, upbringing.
So very strict also, or?
Strict in a sense where it was unknown. Like you didn't know that you were being strict. I joke with my wife, and I tell her, she and I both relate to the fact that not knowing different radio stations as kids, we knew at a certain age we only knew gospel stations or Christian stations. And for me, they've always had these records, but they never played them. My parents always had James Brown's and Marvin Gaye's and old school material, and they had them on vinyl, but we never had a record player, and I wondered why. And it was a religious thing. It was more they didn't want to play music to put them in a mood where it was in the past or where they used to be. So
yeah, that's funny that you say that, because I say this in some of my episodes, and I didn't know that there was another genre of music as I was a little girl, other than Christian music and oldies. That's all I knew until I started going to school. That's when I found out about rap and all this other stuff. I didn't know.
It's a culture shock. You just late to the game. It wasn't until I had a babysitter, and in Sacramento we had an oldie station. It was 104.3, I think. It was the Wind or something like that, and all they used to play was Four Tops and like Motown, stuff like that. And my babysitter used to pick me up, and I used to hear, I was like, what is that song? Like, I know that song. You know, the, I'll be there. You know that song? So you would hear that, you know, I heard that song, and then we always used to watch old movies because, you know, we couldn't watch, like, we weren't allowed to watch a lot of stuff. So me watching, you know, Code Chiefs and them and Cooley High and hearing the Four Tops at the end of it, it's a different kind of like feel. So
yeah, for sure. When did you, like, I know probably, like you said, it was a culture shock. And, you know, when you heard something completely different other than the type of music that you grew up listening to, is that what, like, intrigued you to start listening to other music other than what you were listening to at home?
So even before, like, so mind you, if I'm telling you, like, my babysitter, this would have been, like, third grade. So I'm, like, you know, 7, 8 years old. And so me listening to what the babysitter is even still 30 years past what current music would have been. You hear what I'm saying? Like, it's the funniest thing. So I have an old soul, basically, with that. But for me, listening to new music was probably around 3rd or 4th grade, because once I found out there were other stations on the radio, I was sneaking and listening to everything.
Yeah.
And then that's when, like, Mark Morrison was out, you know, the Return of the Mac. You know, like, and so I would get in trouble in school because I was a radio at a certain point. So I would just mimic everything off the radio. Everything I heard, I would sing it or whatever in class, like nonstop. I would have my stuff done, but it was, you're going to hear me. Like, you're going to hear me all day, like that. And that's where kind of like that feel for like listening to more music changed. And then it was like the older you get, especially within gospel, you started hearing different sounds and like people giving samples of oldies or old R&B, like Temptations and stuff like that, incorporating it in their music. And like you can hear it. You're like, something doesn't sound the same as it, like it doesn't sound the same. And so when you start hearing like Kirk Franklin or, Fred Hammond or John P. Key and like these gospel figures that are, bigger names, or Israel Houghton.
I was going to say Houghton.
Houghton, yeah. When they incorporate all these classics and stuff, and you're like, wait, they can listen to other music. So wait, hold on. There's other music? And then that kind of just sparks it. And you start to see like, And then you see it in commercials and you start to connect, like, everybody listened to it at some point. So what did I miss? So it's kind of finding a way of your old self, trying to see, what you missed.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I'm going back to when you're like, hey, like I'm an old soul. Like you were listening to these kind of, older music, what we know as oldies at such a young age. What do you feel like it was about that sound that like pulled you? Was it just because it was different than what you were used to, or is it just, just the umph behind these love ballads, right? That they are.
As a kid, it was more of a connection to my parents, I would say, when I first started listening, because it was like, this is what these people listen to. This is what they kind of were. They're not the same people that I look at every day. Like, they actually have fun. They listen to stuff that, oh shit, that actually sounds good. Like, like, it's not the same old, like, Mahalia Jackson and all that kind of, like, old gospel soul, like, like they had something that had melody and it had actual, like, genius to it. And when it's old school, the older I got, or the older I am now, the thing I appreciate the most about, like, the oldies and stuff like that is the genius behind them. Like, when they're recording these albums and you hear it, they're doing it in one take. It's not, like, super spliced together where you can just cut it and edit it. These dudes came in, they played this song. They may have messed up once or twice or whatever, but after they messed up, they played it all the way through. These people sang, and they did their harmonies on beat with no cuts, like just the ability to practice something and do it with perfection continuously and then record it live in a lot of cases is crazy. It's like it really is a genius type of thing.
Yeah, and I feel like it's so raw, right? Like you can hear it in the music. Like you can hear some of it, right? You could even hear, I've caught some songs, like you can even hear like, the producer, right? Or like you catch little snippets of little errors. But I feel like that's, for me, that's what is intriguing and what pulls me is the rawness of this music. Because like you're saying, hey, they didn't have it how they have it today, where now just by the click of a button you can edit and reverb and do all this crazy stuff. Back then it's like, you're going to sing how you're going to sing, and if you mess up, like, you know?
You had to have it. Either you had it or you didn't have it.
There was no auto-tune back then.
Nope. And one thing, just to add to what you're saying, is two examples. One of them is Marvin Gaye's. He did a live, what album was it? He did a live show at I think it's Cow Palace in San Francisco. I think it's like 1971. And he did, Distant Lover. If you ever listen to Distant Lover live,
my favorite.
You can hear the ring of the microphone because it's so loud when everybody screams him singing Distant Lover, because he just breaks it down and then everybody just, it's such a ring that comes through. It's just, you can't mimic the energy that was there. Like, you know?
You cannot. Yeah.
And the second one is like Al Green with Love and Happiness. With the foot stomp. It's the because you can hear his foot. You can hear the wood on the floor of the studio. And you can't mimic that.
Right.
And when they're pressed into the vinyl, it's an actual pressing machine. Like they're pressing the audio physically into the wax.
Right.
It's not a computer digitally like just throwing some, ones and zeros around. It's like something physically, mechanically pressing into the music of the room that was being blasted through the speakers. And in a sense, you feeling that. Like you literally feel it. So it's like you're almost there in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty of this music, and why I feel like there's so many, this music has made collectors where it's like, I want more, like.
You're going to be crazy going to Japan. Like, Japan has one of the most extensive, like, jazz collections that anyone's ever heard of. Like, the stuff that went international is nuts.
Yeah. I know, you obviously are a vinyl collector. When do you feel like you started, getting into collecting your own vinyl?
That started for me, I started collecting vinyl before I had a record player, actually, which is even funny. But I found a bunch of records from my parents. Like, cleaning out the garage, as the kids do, they make us, do that kind of stuff. Yeah. And they had James Brown records and like him live at, these different clubs, Copacabana and, different soul records. They have classical music and stuff. And I'm like, who are you? Like, who are you people? Like, what is this? Like, at this time that I'm finding this, like, I've heard like the older type of music, but I didn't know like extensively. Like when, like I've always hung around older people.
Yeah.
It's been something that I've always liked, people that are 6 or 7 years older, just because I've had older brothers and siblings. It's just something I've gravitated to. And so to hear older people tell you, oh, you don't know nothing about this youngster, like, it's something that you never want to hear, kind of. It's like, you always want to be gamed up, you feel? So, and so it's kind of a sense where you want to make sure you do your research. And so you don't be coming up here, like, you want to be played. You want everybody to be like, throw you the aux chord. Oh, we know Chris is about to play a hitter. Like, come on, man. So that's the feeling that you have. And so when you throw an old one out, like you throw Zoom out to a play, like an old dude that wasn't expecting it, he's like, oh, man, you took me back. Like, I ain't heard that since, it's a good feeling to have. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I know before, like, you also not only do you collect vinyl, but I know you do sing as well. Do you want to talk about that?
I'll talk about a little bit. Me singing, complicated history for me a little bit, but basically I've been singing my entire life, even before I was like singing officially. Like I sang all up through my elementary, but it was never like out anything, not like a talent show. It was just in class, I guess, being destructive, I guess you would say. But I formally didn't start singing until I was like 16, 17, somewhere in there. So probably from 10 to 18, I didn't utter too many words at all singing wise. It was just kind of wasn't like looked upon as pretty cool or anything. It was just like, you know, you do whatever. But from 18 on, I sang like in choirs and, you know, groups and stuff like that, in Sacramento and Bay Area and stuff like that. And then from there, I tried to do kind of like my own little solo stuff. Which is more difficult than people really realize, especially if you don't play. Like if you're just a straight musician, like singing, it's a little bit different. Like you got to make sure you have people who can play, and they actually can studio, like they can actually play studio track too. So like timing has to be there, you know. They have to know the right chords to play. They can show you the right way to sing or the right notes to hear or things like that. So
right.
But as far as me singing, I don't know, like the stuff like when me and my wife, when we got married, like we used to come home and sing and LTD, stuff with beat. But I guess my favorite singer, like of all time, is Donny Hathaway. He used to do a song called Love. So I'll just try a little bit. So, love, love, why'd you take so long to come to me? Oh, baby. And love, love, your love. Tell me, were you hiding from me all the time? Day by day, I'm falling more in love with you. And that's no lie. Cross my heart and honey, I hope to die. That's all I can get out right now. But
Wow.
That's one of like the favorites. But he does it live, and I generally like listening to live music. Like, especially older music, because at that time they didn't have like crowd. I mean, it's a cultural thing. Like when you hear the crowd of Donny Hathaway's live albums, you're hearing real people who are just feeling moved with the music and they're expressing themselves. So you're hearing people screaming over the album as he's doing slow songs because they're just like, I can't. It's like it's almost like you're in church. That's what it feels like. Like you feel comfortable enough to express yourself in live music. So hearing oldies it's a whole family feel. Like hearing the OJs or, you know, hearing the originals, it's just like one of those things where it's just, you feel a certain way, especially if you listen to the radio back in the day when they used to do Quiet Storm, and they used to actually play these old songs, like the real ones, and people used to put in their requests, and you'd be like, you know, I just want to shout out my, you know, my boyfriend or my girlfriend.
Like Mario Levotti says.
Oh, for real? That's what's up. All right, I gotta keep listening then. I gotta keep listening. That's what is missing. That's what is missing. Like,
go ahead.
But that's exactly what is missing, because all these corporate radio stations, all they play is the same crap, and it's like all the local stations that actually love the music, and you can tell they love it because they play B-side stuff. And you can hear some of the records if the audio pop of the record, like, oh snap, they're not playing on a computer. Like, that's what you want to hear. That's what.
Exactly.
You know,
but we we do the dedications, and it's So we have actually this one, the line that we record our podcast on, people call in from everywhere and leave requests and dedications, and we upload them on our TikTok page and on all our social medias. But when we do our live shows on Sunday, then people are calling in and making dedications. I think what sets us different apart is that we also take calls from those that are incarcerated. And that was super important for me because growing up, I don't know, I know you're from NorCal, but in SoCal, so Arla Bo, he was big in Southern California, and on Sunday nights he had an oldie show, and people would call in and make dedications. But most of the time you would hear women and families making dedications to their loved ones who were incarcerated. And when I was, and with my background, like my father was, incarcerated a few times. And I remember as a little girl, I would sit there and I would be like, man, if only I could hear my dad call in and, make a dedication to me, right? That was always my one desire when I was a little girl. So as I grew and I got this, I started this project. That's one of my heart's passions that I said, you know what, I'm going to do this different, and now I'm going to be able to have these people call in and maybe one day have their kids hear their dad or their mom, say their dedication, and that's why I started doing it.
Absolutely. That's a very noble cause. That's very noble.
Yeah.
Because we often forget sometimes about our family members, our brothers, sisters, who are definitely in systems. So, absolutely.
Yeah. And not only are you a vinyl collector, a singer, I know you're a family guy as well. Your wife, I know your children. Your wife, I know her, very well. She's actually, I always tell her, you're like a mentor. She has been there actually in one of the toughest times in my life where I have called her and I'm like, I just need you, like, get me out of my headspace. And I love your wife so much. She's very special to me. And I know I've had the opportunity to celebrate your son's birthday with you guys 1 year. So you want to talk about that? Being a family man and a vinyl collector, the singer and all that, everything?
Yeah, she is very special.
Yes.
As far as like vinyl, like me and my wife, we used to go to Broadway and dig the crates, Tower Records over there. They used to have a vinyl store there, and they used to have this dude, he used to have super long hair, heck a cool dude, but he used to have this cat, this big old like white cat, and he would sit on the record player that they actually played the music through in the store. And they would just have just random records that they would pull off the shelf and just play it through the system, just, while people shop and stuff. And they're not there anymore, of course, gentrification is what it is. But, whenever you're able to dig the crates, I think it's one of them, a good time spent, a good date time, especially if you guys enjoy music and just abstract things and art, especially with the vinyl. It's actually art there. Like, these people actually commission people to do pieces of art or, things like that. Like, you always think of the Sugar Shack with, I know Marvin Gaye, he's like one of my favorite. I'm a soul dude, for real. But the Sugar Shack, and you think of that, and it's like, dang, everybody is like, had that moment where it's like, that's it right there. Like,
yeah. Do you remember your first vinyl that you purchased on your own? Like once you started collecting vinyl?
Man. One of the first ones was the LTD, the Don't Stop Loving Me Now. Like that was one of the ones like we had it, like it was one of the ones I found from my parents, but it was warped. Like, cause these things have been in garages and stuff, so it was super warped. So when I did get to hear it, it wasn't right. Like it didn't sound right at all. So from that point, I had to start recollecting and trying to, gain that history that I missed back. So I started replacing all those albums, and I want to say that was one of the first ones was LTD, the Don't Stop Loving Me Now album.
Nice. And then it was history after that.
After that, Man, it kind of transitioned. So it went from soul, then it started going to jazz, like Dexter Gordon, Miles Davis, what's his name, Bill Evans. Like it started going real jazzy. Then I go back to soul. Then I go to classical. I have some Beethoven,
Nice.
little Bach, just random stuff. What's his name? Burt Bacharach. Like just random stuff. Because I wanted to start listening to different stuff and different sounds, and like doing music at the time, it was like you just want to listen to stuff that's not what you're hearing now, and just getting a feel of what different artists have tried, and so you just want to do something different, but not like them. So it's just kind of a way to hear different artists and see where they were culturally, where they were mentally, like in their musical spaces. Like with like Miles Davis, I had an album with him. I can't remember. I think it's Britches Brew or something like that. I think that's the name of the album. And I remember listening to it the first time I bought it, and I spent like $30 on his album. It's vinyl, and I remember listening to it, and I can tell, like him playing, he started having a moment where he heard where he wanted to go, and he started going there, and he did not like that shit, and he turned it around, and then you start hearing him spiral out for a minute, and he spiraled out for like 5 minutes, or him trying to figure out if he likes it or doesn't like it.
Wow.
And it's a crazy feel to start to see exactly what he was feeling. You're like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But,
and do you feel like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. But like Miles Davis, then I would go back to like old school, like older gospel. Like I have a history with Sacramento. Like my mom, she was a part of this gospel choir, the Sacramento Component Choir.
Okay.
And they did recordings in like 1970s and stuff like that. And so it's like a lot of the people in that choir are the people who are in the community of like gospel music within Sacramento, or their history is here. So it's like I got to meet a lot of these people and, pick up some of these albums that they actually recorded. And then go through Walter Hawkins and John P. Key, the Winans, Clark Sisters, various gospel groups that I've only heard people sing in church, but never really heard their albums because they weren't always readily accessible. You would have to go to the Bay Area to get the albums that we're talking about, like, and so to hear all these people, and then later on sing these songs, and like, I guess one of the biggest accomplishments I have is singing in front of Walter Hawkins. Like, Walter Hawkins is like one of the biggest gospel singers and, gospel musicians that's, ever been there. And he was a little bit older in his age, but I sang one of his songs in front of him, and it was like one of those feelings, like, it's a great feeling to have, like, not to mess up his song in front of him. It's an honor, so.
Yeah, definitely. With you having like the choir background and all that, did you also sing when you were like in your parents' church?
So yeah, that's the funny thing. So from my childhood, from like 4 to 14, or 4 to 18, I was an usher in church. So
oh wow,
I did everything but sing. So I did audio for the church. I ushered. We always set up stuff and chairs and, make sure the church is open and closed and stuff like that, of that nature. But our family was heavily involved in our church, very much so. Like we had a very strong name in our community, especially our church community. And a lot of the people that I grew up with, I consider pretty much family. They were like their cousins. Like everybody I'm talking about, their cousins, or I consider them uncles or aunts or things of that nature. But yeah, I was sing in church probably from 18, probably from like 16 to now. I still sing every once in a while.
That's so cool. Do your parents still have their church?
No, my dad's a little bit older, dementia and Alzheimer's. Ugh, sucks.
Yeah.
So no, he had to retire probably like 10 years ago now.
Okay.
Because of the, dementia and stuff like that. It sucks. So, but no, my mom, she'll definitely be singing in the church still. She's never stopped. So yeah, my brother, he played drums.
Nice.
For a very long time, and he's a preacher actually right now.
Nice.
So yeah, that's my immediate family there.
Out of all your vinyl collection that you have, is there one that's most valuable to you? That you're like, this is my baby. Like, you hardly pull it out.
That's like picking your kids, man. You can't do that.
Right?
It's hard.
Well, I collect vinyl, but I have a special one that's like, I even have it. I don't even play it. I actually put it in a frame and I don't even touch it. So I
duplicate it, so play it. I'm gonna have to play it. If I love it like that, I'm gonna play it. But it's hard because it's like in different modes or different seasons you're in. Like there's a I think it's Tom Chambers or Tom. This dude, he has a song. I can't remember the song now. But when my son was like an infant, we would play this song, and my kid would he would bounce to the music of it. He knew the rhythm, he knew and it was just it's a special connection. So whenever I play that record, I see him as an infant, so it's different. But me listening to Peebo Bryson and hearing him sing Crosswind. That album, I think it's like 1973, somewhere in there. But he had an album called Crosswind, and he has a few songs on that album where it's just like, it's crazy to think that a voice, like a person was created and they had a voice that they were able to manipulate to sound like that. And you can also hear the youth that's there behind his voice and how strong it is, and the ability to have the music catches it, and how they actually have people who wrote the song, like the writing of the song made sense, and like when Stevie Wonder, it's funny enough, Stevie Wonder writes well enough to where you don't feel that you can see, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but he writes in a way where it's like, even if you weren't able to see, you would understand exactly what he's saying.
That's
damn.
Deep. Yeah. For
and
sure.
that part is what I think you collect your vinyl for, and you have your close vinyls for, because it's like you feel a certain connection with that one. It's something about that one. Listening to Marvin Gaye, that live album. One of the reasons that's special is because my mom and my godmom were at that concert.
Wow.
So they got that album there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sentimental value for sure. I love Marvin Gaye. I love playing Marvin Gaye when I'm ready to relax, late in the evening. With some Marvin. That's just the mood. I love Marvin. And Adrian, why do you feel that you like collecting vinyl? Out of everything, right? There's CDs, there's tapes. Why do you feel you chose this is what I want to collect? I want to collect vinyl.
For one, it's a genuineness to it.
Yeah.
It's a personality thing to it. You can't judge people by color, but by their music choices. Look, hey fam, no, just joking. I'm joking. But when you're collecting vinyl, you're collecting a piece of someone else's history. And when I say their history, it's something that they actually created along with a lot of other people. or in some cases just by themselves, and a couple, one or two people. But you're seeing, like, I think some of the best writing and the culture that is actually missed, that actually had, I guess, value or integrity as a full culture, I guess you would say, that is gone. I think that's what some of us strive to grab within vinyl. It's just like when you hear the originals, because I always love that song. You used to hear it on Quiet Storm all the time. But the baby, 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 baby. Remember that one?
Yep.
Yeah, remember, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Sing it, don't stop.
I can't, that's the one we used to sing. I gotta be real, I gotta be posted for that one. Cause that one is a tough one. Cause he sings it, like, they sing it really well. Like, you can hear it now, and, like, there's a video I used to love. It was on Instagram. There was a girl, her dad was filming him playing that particular song. He taking her to school, and you just hear her light up, and she's singing the whole song like she had a glass of whiskey or something. Like, she was there. Like, she missed her too. And so that part of the culture is missed, because it's like, this culture don't value love, like, at all. Like, it's a business thing. Everything's a beneficial thing now, it seems. So, you're hearing that kind of stuff, you're like, oh, snap, they actually used to love each other. Oh, shit. Like, so it's different. Like, everybody wasn't just popping it. Like, we all popping it. So it's just, it's a different feel. So it's like, chilling with your grandma, and, grandma was cool, or, chilling with your, granddad or your uncles and shit, and everybody happy. Like, everybody, I'll just say in my situation, my family and stuff, some of the best times when everybody was out, and, everybody was out in the city. Like, they wasn't incarcerated or anything. Everybody was out. Like, all my brothers and stuff, seeing everybody, it really does feel like just joy. So, when you associate a vinyl with it, and you have the family backing it, it's just like, damn, this is it. Like,
for sure.
Someone good breakfast and hearing, Four Tops or Isley Brothers, or stuff like that. It's just something that connects with it.
Yeah, and what I love about the soul music is that it connects everyone, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, different everything. And I always say this, it's the purest form of love that connects everyone, because no matter where you are, in wherever part of the world you're at, no matter your color, no matter your race, no matter what background you're from, the moment that you hear that same song, you're going to feel the same thing that I feel. And that's beautiful, right? Like, that's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And then you start to go into the back history. I think another thing with vinyl, too, is like when you start to hear stuff, and then you start to check the history of it. Like, with the Marvin Gaye, What's Going On album, Berry Gordy did not want that album out. Like, he did not, because the political behind it was something that Motown couldn't necessarily risk at the time. Like, they didn't want to go political. They wanted to stay happy and, clean, and just have people dance. They don't want to be political. So when Marvin did it, he trusted in Marvin enough to say, look, we're going to play this out. But if it don't go good, it's on you. But still, that kind of shit, the history, to know that James Jamerson on bass played What's Going On, because they found him at a club at like 3 a.m, and he was so drunk, he played that song laying down, supposedly. That's what the rumor was.
Wow.
That he played bass on one of the greatest songs in American culture, laying down, drunk,
Wow.
in one take or two takes or whatever.
Wow.
You know,
That's
like that kind of stuff is, you know.
Yeah.
And then when you see Marvin Gaye, there's videos of Marvin Gaye laying down,
Yeah.
singing in rehearsal, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
this is just, these are superhumans. Like,
Yeah. What I was tripping out on Marvin Gaye, I saw the other day that I didn't know. Actually, one of his albums, I think it's called like, what's it called? Honey, or something, or Here You Go, or something like that, where that album, the judge ordered him to make that album because he was getting a divorce. And I think he was so broke that the judge is like, okay, you're going to do this album and all the proceeds are going to go to, well, his wife that he was divorcing.
Yeah.
I think that album, and he titled it, I'll put it in the description, but it's like Honey Here or Here You Go. Here My Dear. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yep. Yeah. I was tripping out on that. I was like, oh my God, like how you're seeing like these albums, these artists, they all have like a crazy story, right?
Yes. Like the fact that they're able to tell their story, right, in an artistic way. And it's not like, this is not Instagram. This is not like instant news where you find, this is like, you had to find out that this person lived a life and this is a part of their life, and then you find out like, oh my God. Yeah. Oh wow, they really lived this. Yeah. So it's a different kind of connection that you can feel, you know.
Yeah, for sure. My last question to you is, do you have any advice for any upcoming wanting to collect vinyl, or anybody that has a talent and is, you know, kind of shy or embarrassed? Any advice for those guys?
Play on your shyness. And I would say don't allow your shyness to stop you from looking at good music. Okay? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and like go to concerts and stuff, because it's not always safe and people, you know, whatever. But if you have any kind of record store and you can Google any kind of like record store, I would say go to one, and go to one that's not like, not a Dimples or, you know, nothing like that, but somebody that has like, you know, Bob's buy and sell records or something like that, and see what he has and see the collection. Or, you know, hit up, is it yard sales and stuff like that, and just see what people have, or just see your uncles or your aunts or anybody, just see what's in the house, and you're like, okay. And then you can ask people questions like, hey, where is this from? And they can say, oh my God, I remember when your dad used to wear his hair like James Brown just because of an album. Like, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so dope.
I would say definitely don't allow your shyness away from good music. You can find some really good stories in those crates. Really good ones, and like really good artwork that actually can be lost in history because people just forget it. That's there. Yeah. That's
dope. Adrian, I want to thank you so much for your time and being here with us today. Do you have any last words, anything that you want to say before we end?
No, I just, actually, yes. I would like to say thank you again for inviting me. This is, you know, an experience that I've never had. And I definitely appreciate the opportunity to have it. So, definitely thank you and Hector. And thank, you know, the whole podcast. This is something that I very much want to support more, and so I'm definitely going to be listening more to your podcast, and I encourage anybody listening to do so. Especially like call in, absolutely, to the number. Send those requests in. And just try to listen to music that was played, you know, prior to 1980.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much again, Adrian. It's been an honor to have you on our podcast. That does conclude. Wait, before we conclude, where can you be found out? Where can you be found at? I know you're on Instagram. Do you have any other social medias where people can follow you at?
Nah, just the gram. You can hit me on the gram on that one. That's good. Other than that, I'm very incognito.
All right. Well, that does conclude episode number 20 here on the Barrio Love OD podcast, and we'll catch you on the flip side.